We're in a practice session recording. Pause. All right, welcome everybody. I want to thank you all for joining us for the Town of Superior and Erie and the City of Longmont ballot issue presentation. Before we begin, I want to invite those who would like to listen in Spanish to click the globe at the bottom of the Zoom screen and choose the Spanish interpretation option. We're going to pause for just a moment while our interpreters give this instruction in Spanish.
Para las personas que están aquí, gracias, bienvenidos a todos. Para las personas que quisieran escuchar en español, estamos agradecidos de poderles presentar toda la información de este foro en español. Interpreter Kelly Music speaking, I will let you know I have not yet been invited into the interpretation room, so I'm still in the main audience, which needs to happen in order for people to hear me. Just wanted to let you know that. And Roosevelt's in the audience.
Is that working for you now? Kelly, is that working for you now? All right. So we're just going to give people one more minute to move over to the Spanish language channel if they would like. Okay. So welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us for the Towns of Superior and Erie and the City of Longmont ballot issue presentation. And my name is Anna Lamarck. And I am the operations coordinator for the League of Women Voters of Boulder County. We are a nonpartisan political organization. For over a century, the League of Women Voters has encouraged informed and active participation in government and influenced public policy through education and advocacy. We're pleased to have Spanish language interpreters Roosevelt Rice and Kelly Music with us. Our presenters today are Deborah Hayes, Judy Morris-Dixon, and Charles Dusha. The League of Women Voters works throughout the year to help empower voters and defend democracy. We rely on the generous donations from community members. Please consider donating today at LWVBC.org. You can also join us in lending your time and skills to encourage civic engagement for all people in a nonpartisan manner. Just a note about this afternoon's forum, you can submit your questions using the Q&A button on the bottom tab. When questions are similar, we summarize and pose one question to the speaker. With that, I introduce Deborah Hayes, who will introduce the Town of Superior ballot issue.
Anna, I'm sorry to interrupt, but would you like me to screen share the PowerPoint?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Next slide. Here are our sponsors. And next slide is, okay, the Town of Superior has one measure on the ballot, number 2M, funding for recovery efforts. The town board refers this to the voters. They would like approval to increase the sales and use tax by 0.16%. That's 16 cents on a $100 purchase for the next 10 years, 2023 to 2032. Now, the Tabor laws, Tabor Taxpayers Bill of Rights requires this to be called an increase, but for us who buy things in Superior, it's not going to be noticeable if it passes, because an exact same, oops, there's a typo. The exact same 1.16%, sorry about that, it's wrong on the slide. It should be 0.16, is expiring. The tax has been used for the Superior McCaslin interchange. But this new tax is just for recovering from the Marshall Fire damage. The first year revenue is estimated at about $800,000, which is not a lot compared to what the cost of the fire has been. The town board is proposing this tax because it estimates the expenses of recovery after FEMA reimburses will exceed $7.3 million. Additionally, the town has lost substantial sales tax revenue because businesses closed, and the town has also lost property tax revenue and water revenues. Expenses plus lost revenue are expected to be more than 11.9 million, approaching 12 million. The town staff and the board have already reduced operation expenditures and capital expenditures this year by 2.3 million, but they still need more revenue. We haven't found any organized opposition to 2M. Those in favor of the sales tax say that sales tax in Superior is mostly paid by non-residents. They say 70% of purchases in Superior. Also, if 2M passes, Superior's total sales tax will still be the lowest among Boulder County municipalities. It's only 3.46%. So I guess I'll Judy Morris-Dixon is going on to talk about the two issues in Erie, but let's see, let me look and see if there are any questions.
You, Deborah.
Okay, we don't have any questions on
We do not at this point.
on Superior, but we've got
Correct.
we've got a question on Longmont. Okay, this is, as I say, Judy Morris-Dixon will talk about the town of Erie. Next slide.
Okay. And remember, if questions occur to you as we move along on a measure that we've already discussed, still put it in the Q&A, and time permitting, we should get to all of them. So Town of Erie has two measures before the voters, 3D and 3E. So we're going to take these in order. 3D is not a tax increase, it is a tax extension. And this is put to the voters by the Board of Trustees to extend the current 4 mil property tax for 10 years, starting in 2025. So they're moving proactively through 2034. The 4 mil property tax means about $28 for residential and $118 for commercial properties. So this is the trails, natural areas, and community character. TNACC is how Erie refers to the program. And the program has, it's been in, it's been going along for a number of years, and let me just give you a little bit of background. This particular program is for it functions. I'm so sorry. Let me try this again. It is overseen by a Citizens Advisory Board. There is a required annual audit, and only 4% of the monies can be used for administration. It was first approved in 2004, and then again in 2014. It runs at about $2 million a year. And over time, Erie has purchased about 400 acres in open space and about 21 miles of trails. So the only change in the program is in the proposal that it also now cover, if passed, maintenance of trails, parks, and parkland infrastructure and open space. So it's going to continue to do all of the things that it's done before, and I'll quickly go through those. Protect natural areas in Cold Creek and Boulder Creek, conserve scenic landscape and views, create and enhance hiking, biking, and walking trails, protect wildlife habitats, acquire natural areas to separate Erie from other communities. And then, as I said, the new use, which is construct and improve and maintain trails, parks, and parkland infrastructure and open space. So those in favor say the town of Erie is growing and parks and open space have become more important in terms of improving the quality of life in Erie. Improving trail connectivity and creating and updating parks and existing developments is important, such as Vista Ridge and Compass. Those opposed say taxes are already too high and funding a community center is a higher priority. So let me take a breath and see if there are any questions about the TNACC 3D. Charles?
There are no questions.
All right, thank you. So let's move on to the second measure, which it has to do with home rule. All right. So the town of Erie, this is issue 3E. Should Erie form a home rule charter commission for the purpose of drafting a home rule charter for Erie? That's the question on the ballot. And this is again referred by the Town Board of Trustees. Home rule, as probably a lot of people are familiar, is a form of government that is based on a charter written by residents rather than following state statutes. And so if the 9-member commission, if this question is approved, then a 9-member commission must create a charter and submit it to the Town Board of Trustees within 180 days of this election. So once the board approves such a charter, then Erie must hold another election to consider it its adoption. So again, home rule allows local government to act and legislate on local issues. It's based on the theory that residents of the community know best how to solve local issues. And a home rule charter gives residents lots of different opportunities. And we've written all about these on our website, but I'll just mention a couple.
We need to go back to the Erie slide for there.
Thank you, Deborah. Are we there?
Yep.
So gives residents the opportunity to determine whether Erie should be a city or a town, whether the Board of Trustees should be a board or a council, what the term limits of any elected office would be. Going home rule can affect finance, taxation, land use, and elections. So a bit of history. In 2019, the board scheduled a charter commission election, but like some other things in our world, the preparations were derailed in 2020 due to the pandemic. So in July of this year, this past July, the board approved the initial process and the nomination period for charter commission candidates ran from July 20th to August 19th. So again, if this passes, a charter commission would be seated and would have to develop a charter within 180 days to give to the Board of Trustees. And then if adopted, it would need to go back to the city residents for a vote. Those in favor say that this would offer more control for Erie's residents in terms of governing Erie, that the community knows what is best for Erie. The Erie community knows what's best, and that 93% of Colorado is home rule. Those opposed say that there is already a lack of trust in local government, that home rule would allow too many people to be involved in governing and nothing would get done, and that funding this effort is not a beneficial use of resources. So those are the two Erie questions. And any questions about those, about this one or the previous one?
There are no questions on either issue.
All right. And that is Charles Dasha, who is going to be going through the three Longmont issues. So welcome, Charles.
Thank you. Next slide, please. All right. Well,
Whoop, there we go.
very well, thank you. The city of Longmont has three questions to propose to the voters. Unlike Erie, Longmont is a home rule entity. So the requirements by virtue of home rule require that these questions be posed to the voters. The first one is question 3A, titled Charter Amendment for Modernization of Conduct of City Business. This was referred by the City Council, and it has a number of pieces to it. The ostensive intent of the content is to clean up and clarify the various parts of the conduct of city business. First one is that it eliminates outdated references to poll places. This is just a language cleanup kind of thing. The second one is a little more intricate because it would allow the mayor to sign and sign electronically in many cases, non-contracts, inappropriate contracts documents, and also give the mayor the ability to delegate some of those signatory requirements to other city officials. The next one is a wording change again, councilman to council member, cleaning up language. Another kind of cleanup kind of thing is first city council meeting after election would be changed from first Monday to first Tuesday of December. The next one again is a little bit more complicated. This would allow city employees living outside of the city, these are city employees, to participate on city retirement and pension boards. They currently do not have the ability to do that. And the final piece of that is to permit city council to enter into agreements with other government units for development of ordinances, built for buildings, equipment, facilities, goods, and services. Now, those in favor say this is long overdue to clean up some of this language that gets, language over time gets a little dated and stale. They also say that it would help make the city more efficient by expediting various contracts, signatures, and being able to use outside experts to help the city continue to improve. Those opposed to it are concerned about the way the language is worded, and they feel like it's confusing, maybe isn't as clear as it should be. And there has not been any public engagement that they're aware of before this was proposed. Are there any questions on this particular 3A? Hearing none, feels like a vote. Okay, next slide, please. Question 3B is the charter amendment to prospectively vacate public office, referred by City Council. Again, this is the intent of the content is to try to make things more efficient and to avoid special elections where someone who is currently sitting in an elected position in the city runs for another elected position and gets elected, thereby vacating the current position that they hold. Currently, it requires a special election to fill the vacated position. The attempt here is to have this person who's running for an additional city office to prospectively resign with the contention that if they're elected to the other office, then they would automatically have an election for the vacated position. Example of that, city council member recently in the middle of a term ran for mayor and was elected. City council decided it would not do a special election due to the cost to the city. So prospective resignation has some requirements, notifying the city clerk before the election, and that the resignation would be effective once the election results are certified. Those who are in favor of it say this prevents unnecessary special elections. Those opposed say that the problem is that this is not a mandatory requirement. So ostensibly, you could still have a special election, even if this ballot question was approved. Are there any questions with respect to this 3B? The silence is deafening, folks. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide, please. This is ballot question 3C. It involves revenue bonds to fund resilient St. Vrain
Oh, just a minute.
improvements.
Oh,
Yeah.
just a minute, Charles. There was a question on 3B.
B, yes.
Yeah. What use is it for Longmont council members to have the quote option of resigning? They can already resign at any time. This will quickly become an obligation in order to save money and will cause unnecessary vacancies and chaos. And I know we did talk about, it is odd that it's optional, but I don't know if there's an answer to the, well, go ahead, Charles.
The question sort of speaks to motivation. I can't speak to motivation. I can only speak to the mechanics of what 3B proposes, which we have covered. Shall we move on?
Sure.
Okay, question 3C, as was mentioned, is revenue bonds to fund what ostensibly is the last piece of the storm drainage improvements that were needed as a result of the 2013 flood. It's referred by City Council. It includes drainage construction from Sunset to Hover and other drainage maintenance as needed. The design of this was done in partnership with the Army Corps of Engineers. It is the design focus is around protecting approximately 150 businesses and homes in that area, and would be the final piece of this project to improve flood drainage and drainage systems. The funds would not come from taxes as it is currently proposed, but from future bond issues, loans, monies, and so forth that would be acquired by the city rather than taking it from cash. Those who are in favor feel that this is the best way to finance this kind of improvement, and that it would spread the cost over a longer period of time, thereby diminishing the year-to-year cost to the city and ostensibly to the citizens if rate hikes were need to cover some of the financing. Those who are opposed say they feel like the city shouldn't go into debt. It should wait. They don't see the need to complete this project immediately, but rather to wait until funding sources are more favorable. They particularly point out to the current market and going to financial market, and going to the financial market they feel is not appropriate at this time, and that waiting would be better, and that they don't see a harm in delay. And they feel like they're in this delay period that other funding sources could be sought by virtue of federal grants, using cash, that sort of thing, to pay for the funds on a more timely basis and diminish the costs, i.e. interest payments, that a bond issue would require. Are there any questions on 3C?
I don't think there are, Charles.
All right, with that, I'll turn it back to Anna and to wrap up this presentation.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank all the presenters today and again, our interpreters. Also, I just wanted to let you know that the complete ballot issue pamphlet is available on our website. That's LWVBC.org under the 2022 election tab. And also our calendar of events is also up on our homepage, and you see the events tab, and some of the upcoming events are also at the right of your screen. I also want to mention our very important vote411.org. And it's really one of the most fabulous places just to check, find out where to register, submit your ballot. You can see the ballot pro and con statements, be able to compare your candidate side by side. It's a great resource for everyone, so we want to promote that during this season. And finally, I do want to thank our sponsors again. It's wonderful to have such great local businesses supporting our election education efforts this year. So that's all we have for today. And we really appreciate you coming. And again, we urge you to vote in the November 8th, 2022 elections. Thank you all.
And the video will be posted. Do you want to talk about the video?
Oh, yes, the video will be posted. So that will be recorded on our YouTube website, and it's the LWVBC.org YouTube channel. All right, thank you. Let's see.